At the end of my video last week, I showed an image of something that I think is pretty cool. It looks pretty hard to make, but today I hope to be able to show you that it's actually pretty easy to make. Later on I'll send an update out on how my ankle's doing, because right at this moment I'm getting ready to head out to the doctor and find out if I can start standing on that side. This image that you're looking at is an actual turning I did in 2022. I'll put a link in the description so you can check it out and see how you actually put it together. So I've got Lamination Pro open right now, and what you're looking at is a representation of the strip that I would glue up. And that's over on the right side, and this is the laminate wizard where you design that. And I chose to use 7 strips. I have a 1.5 inch strip of Padauk, I have a 1/2 inch yellow heart, 1/4 inch blackwood, 1/4 inch holly, another 1/4 inch blackwood, a 3/4 inch sapele, and a 1.5 inch wenge. So I'm going to go with that, and I'll show you how we can turn this into a really cool looking bowl. Alright, as a default, this program opens with showing a 30-degree cut. I'm going to stick with that, and we do need to make this cut if we make a more advanced glue up. I can glue it up just the way it sits without making that cut. I'm going to go ahead and show you that, and then I'll show you how much cooler it can be if you go ahead and make a feature ring out of it and cut the feature ring up. So at this point, this is what we have, and I would pick the radial button, and that's to show you some segments. Well, you see they don't quite line up, and to make those line up and divide the pieces equally, I found that 2 1/4 inches is pretty close. As you can see now, we have wedges coming down, we have wedges going up, and I have the saw cut a lot skinnier than what you'd be using on your table saw, but the 1/8 inch wide saw will cut this to a sharp edge right down here and up there. So those are the wedges we would cut, and you notice that they alternate. Of course, I have the Padauk up here and the wenge down there. Now look what happens when I go to a disc. That shows it assembled. So this is kind of cool. It's not really overly exciting, but I'm going to show you this and then show you what you can do very easily. So we're looking at that top segment, and if I go back to that laminate, that's the top, this is the bottom. So we're going to go back over here. That's looking at the wedge coming from the top down. I can go over here, there's a area that says top, bottom, top and bottom. So this is if you use the bottom pieces. That's what it would look like. Now the cool thing about it is you're going to get, if you make the strip long enough, you'll get 2 different turnings. You'll get one that looks like this and one that looks like that. And if you want to mix and match, you can see what it looks like with top and bottom. That's what it would look like. It's not too bad, I guess. So I show it with flat spots. Over here I can change that circle. I actually wanted to make it smaller. So that shows it as a circle. If you like these flat spots, you can do that, depending on what you're making. I'm going to bring that back out there. Now we're going to make this to be much more advanced. I'm going to make this generation 1, which is actually a feature ring. Now I have to change the size of the first cut, and I found out that what works good, and I'm doing this to make the video not drag out. You can just play with this until you see the look that you're looking for and that you're not wasting wood. We'll go to the radial and see, as we look at it here, that 1/8 inch wide blade's going to make that sharp on that end, and you're just going to sacrifice something on this. If you don't want to sacrifice anything, you could shorten this piece, but either way it'll all work out. So we have that, and now look at what it looks like. That's pretty cool. Now this is 8 segments all the way around, and that's the top. Here's the bottom, and you're going to get that. And actually, well, we had a little flat on the bottom of that segment, so that represents what you're going to see there when it's glued together. So it shows you pretty much everything instead of going to a sharp edge. So you can keep it like this, or like I said, you can close this down and see what it looks like round. So that would be 10 3/4. Now what I have was possibly to be too big for a lot of people's lathes, because this is over 12 inches. It's 13 1/4. You can just change the size of these pieces over here and play with those, and it'll get down to the size of your lathe. Take a little off of this, a little off of that maybe, and just play around with it, because there really are no rules to what we can make here. But I think that's pretty cool. So that's 8 segments right here. I can change this and play with it and turn this into a 10 segment, but I have one more piece that I want to show you. I think it looks pretty cool. So we got a couple designs. So let's open up the other one. I'm going to show you another design. It's no more complicated than the last one. It actually has 6 pieces. I think it's really cool looking, but we're going to go through this again just so you can see how it works. Like I said, I'm using 6 pieces, and the top piece is Padauk. It's 2 inches. Then I have a 1/4 inch yellow heart, 3/16 blackwood, 3/16 holly, 1/4 inch walnut, and 2 inch strip of zebra wood. Now when I open this up, by default it will put an angle on here, which is by default 30 degrees, and that's thinking that you're going to make a feature ring. And for a chevron feature ring, that's kind of a good angle to start with. But we're certainly not making a chevron, although we do have to make chevron pieces when we get to the advanced part of this. So I'm going to do a simple one like I did the other, and by doing that I'm going to go up and I'm going to pick radial, and you can see that my lines are not really intersecting where I'd like them to. I'd be cutting segments much smaller than what I can get out of this strip. So I need to change the width of the spacing on those cuts. And I've already played with this. I'm not going to make it hard for you to see and keep up with. I'll just show you that's 1.5 inches, and they almost touch. So what I'll do is I'll try different numbers over here until I get something that really looks good. This is perfect. They intersect right here, and they do on the bottom. Now the Padauk is considered the top, and the zebra wood is considered the bottom. Now I'm telling you that now because on the next step we'll get to look at it both ways. So after hitting radial, adjusting that to get it where you want, then you can hit disc, and that's what it would look like. Okay, that's not even advanced. That's just a segmented turning, but it's pretty cool, and you had a good chance to see what it would look like. The top is the Padauk, and I can go over here. There's a button that says top and it says bottom. That's what it would look like if you used the bottom segments. And I think I said in the first version of this, you're going to get tops and bottoms. You'll get to use them, and if you glue the strip up, as long as the software says, which you need to do because you need to get 10 of the same if you want the pieces to look the same. So we need to do that. So going back to that bowl again, this is the bottom pieces, and that's the top, and this is if you use top and bottom, which you could do, and you'd actually be able to get 2 that look like this. Like I said, this is kind of a simple one, and it comes in with flat spots, about 10.5, but if you wanted it round, you can see what it looks like round, because you need to cut those round after gluing it if you wanted round. So want to go back to a kind of a normal look. What you could do with this is you could make a bowl from a board out of it. You could just glue a piece on the bottom out of another type of wood, maybe contrasting, and turn it and have a shallow bowl, or you could glue that base on it, make a bowl from a board. You could just leave it like this and make it a centerpiece on a table that maybe you set something on. Flower, a little flower arrangement could sit in the middle of this, or maybe a bowl of M&Ms, something like that, something fun. And again, if you wanted to leave it flat, you could. I probably wouldn't leave that one flat. All right, so this is the simple version. Now we're going to use the feature ring design, which is a chevron, and by cutting those individual pieces that I showed you back here, you're cutting these strips and flipping them and gluing them. They look just like the feature ring. And I know that this is not going to work for radial cuts, and let me show you that. So they're not even close to meeting where I'd like them. So I definitely want to fix that. And I know what that number is. I'm just going to get you close to it so you can actually see it happen again. Okay, they could get a little bit closer. That avoids having some kind of a flat spot in your bowl. And then that might be a small gap in there. It just might be the software telling us that. But I'm going to adjust it to the closest I can get, which is 30 seconds. And what it does is I got it to get a nice sharp point on that bottom, because I'm looking at this as always being the outside, and it's a bonus for me to get these pieces. So we're going to go ahead and look at that. Now that is actually closed up. It just, the software shows a little dark spot there. So that's 10 3/4 this way. And if you've got a big enough lathe, you could glue it up like this. That's 13. If you don't have a big enough lathe, let me show you what you can do to make that work. We can go back into Laminate Wizard, and we can change that to probably 1.5 inches. And we're just going to go back over here, and then we'll go over there. And now we're probably under 12 inches now, just by changing this. So I think I should go over 2 different ways of getting the information to build this. The pretty simple way is to just go back to Laminate Wizard, and that tells you the width of each one of these pieces, and it tells you the species of each one of those. So you could write that down and you could build it from there. What you would need to know to build this more complex one is what angle do I cut those strips at to make a chevron shape, and you'll see that here. It's set at 30 degrees. We're going to take that blank and cut that at 30 degrees. So when we go to the next generation, or the first generation I should say, the pieces you see that are stacked together, those have been cut on 30 degrees off of this board, and we get that shape. And they're 31/32 inch wide. The other thing you can actually do is import this into Woodturner Pro and then get a printout of it. So if I go export to Woodturner Pro, I'm going to go up here. I need to give this a name, and this is just telling me the size of bowl this will make. It's a 13 inch. Now you're not going to really get the look of that bowl here, but it's going to give you the information to do it. And up here I have it set at 10 segments. So when I go ahead and hit OK, it's going to ask if I want that information. That's why we're doing this. I'll say yes, that information is in here, and when you double click it, you can now print this. It tells you the same thing. Here's the size of the strips, here's the type of wood. Make a first generation glue up. Cut the laminated boards at 31/32 strips at 30 degrees. Flip them and glue them together. Then the repeating width of that unit is 1.94 inches, and we're making 10 of these. And that's 10 top segments. You also get 10 bottom segments, but I clicked on it for the top segments. That's it right there. You've got everything you need. It'll tell you how long of a board you need to make the strip, where you'll get actually 2 turnings out of that. One out of top segments, one out of bottom. So that's kind of it right there. And I'll show you what you get here. I don't find it real useful, but I do find the printout very useful. So it's kind of showing you that. It just kind of looks like a segmented glue up, but we're not seeing all those strips in there, and that's actually okay. So I think that's probably it. Let's go back over to Lamination Pro and we'll go ahead and wrap this up. That's pretty much it. You can play around with this. You can change it to 18 segments, anything you want. I think it's a lot of fun to do, and it's really not that hard. If you have any questions about this, be sure to ask me in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments. Give it a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, I certainly would appreciate that. And a special thanks to all you current subscribers. I really appreciate you sticking with me through this time of my injury. And like I said, I think at the beginning, I'm off to see the doctor this morning, and I'll let you know if he says I can start standing on that bad ankle. Hopefully so. So till the next time, I'll see you later.